Alright, I think it's time we all address the elephant in the room regarding Dying Light 2 ending, or at least one of the endings. In a way, I guess. A lot of people don't understand what is going on with the ending of Dying Light 2, and I don't blame them. Obviously, with Chris Avellone not being a thing anymore, his story never got to be achieved. In fact, from what I hear, he barely did any of the story before they fired him. And I understand why. He was accused of sexual misconduct, but that isn't the point. The point is the route they took after Chris Avellone. I've watched a lot of people say that the story is mediocre at best. It's an alright story. To some, it's even worse than the first game, and I see where they're coming from. I feel like they created all these characters. Lawan, Hakon, Waltz, Mia. They all came after Avellone was fired, which makes sense. We've only seen a little bit of the story, but from what we saw, one of the missions that we can take direct an example from is the 2019 E3 demo. The mission where you meet the Colonel. That is in the game. It's the epilogue of the game. I guess, spoiler warning. But basically, that mission, it used to be in the E3 2019, it was about getting water for the city because they were running out of water. Despite the fact that, of course, water towers are now a thing, so it wouldn't really make sense. But instead, when everybody played that part of the mission, if you chose to go after the Colonel, instead of fighting over water, they were fighting over stopping the missile strike, which the Colonel himself wants to stop. He doesn't want it to happen. He stopped it a long time ago. He didn't want it to happen again. And instead of mentioning water and turning on the pumps, they mention basically the missiles and Waltz. So you can basically see how things are different. We never really got a lot of story back in 2019, 2018 when Dying Light 2 was first announced. The only missions we had ever gotten was the mission with Frank to chase the Colonel, to find the Colonel. And before that was a mission with the water tower, which we'd gotten to see before, which is also in the game, but it doesn't make that much of an impact. The point is that they clearly changed the story a lot, and people don't really appreciate it. Of course, it wasn't as great. I feel like if Avellone had stayed, the story would have been better. But either way, we're not talking about the story entirely. In my opinion, the story was okay. It was pretty good. But it was the ending that, of course, got everybody riled up. The ending is a little weird. There's basically a whole twist, Mia's not your sister. She's Waltz's daughter. Waltz was never a bad guy. He just wanted to create a cure for his daughter and for everybody. And it was Aiden who was the key. It was Mia and Aiden who was the key. The whole time, Aiden had misinterpreted Waltz as the bad guy. Basically in a way how, children suppress their memory. Or children think that, obviously Waltz was a doctor. We all know children think doctors are the worst things in the world when they're not. The problem is that Waltz wanted to basically blow up the whole city. There were 20 cities like Villador. It was explained that 20 cities like Villador all were blown up by the GRE because the infection got too out of hand. But the colonel stopped it before it was too late, leaving Villador the last surviving city alive, the last big city. Obviously, there are humans outside the city and smaller settlements, but still. The problem is that people don't understand why Waltz needed to activate the missiles to destroy everything. And I think I might know why. And I'm here to explain it. I hope this video gets into the algorithm so that people can see a new light to the ending of the game and not hate it as much. Of course, this is my ending. This is not my ending. This is my explanation. I think it's a pretty good explanation, but I could be wrong. So if you disagree, that's fine. I have no proof. I have no proof that this is why it all happened. I just believe this is why it all happened. The whole thing that Waltz talks about is that you have to save Mia by destroying the city, but nobody understands why. Everybody says, like, why do you need to destroy the city? It doesn't make any sense. You can save Mia and keep the city alive, maybe. But that isn't how it works, I believe. At least it couldn't be, in Waltz's eyes. Waltz obviously wants to save Mia. And people understand that. They just don't understand why he's blowing up the city to save her. So I'm here to shed some light on why that could possibly be. Throughout the entire monologue Waltz gives, he talks about how he tried to find a cure, but it failed, obviously. But it didn't fail because he wasn't close. It didn't fail because the infection. It failed because the GRE stopped him. Not just the GRE. One of the lines Waltz says is that it was the GRE, the politicians, and the citizens who stopped him from continuing his research and basically letting all the kids go. Now, people might not understand how important that line is. Waltz also talks about how the city had its chance, Aiden, stuff like that. Throughout the entire game, you're looking for Waltz. You're trying to kill him. You're trying to find Mia. Trying to get Mia away from Waltz. And the thing about that is that you aren't the only one who wants Waltz dead. Everyone wants him dead. And I mean everyone. Even the Colonel, at some point. The thing is that, you can literally go play the story yourself. Every time you ask a character, every time you mention Waltz's name to someone, they say they hate him. They say they want him dead. And it all comes full circle to that one line Waltz stated about how the city had its chance, about how it was the GRE, the politicians, and the citizens as well, who stopped him from the research. So for everybody not understanding why he blew it up, why the city couldn't be saved, and couldn't also have Mia be saved. People like Moist Critical, I don't mean to call him out, he's not wrong about this, obviously, but he mentions how, you can use the GRE key to save the city, and to save Mia. And that is true. The thing is that Waltz doesn't want to save the city. He believes that. This is where my theory comes in. He wants to blow up the city because of the people there. Like I had mentioned, Waltz complains about how people stopped him from his research. Not just the government, but also the citizens. He mentions the citizens. He says citizens. He doesn't just say, oh, the GRE and the politicians. He also says citizens. He has said how the city had its time, how it had a chance, and how it failed. And like I said, talk to literally anyone about Waltz, and they will mention how it's his fault, he's the bad guy, he should die. Like I said, even the colonel, the one who chemically bombed the city, believes Waltz went too far and doesn't deserve to live. He never mentions that he wants Waltz dead, but he still doesn't side with Waltz. That's the point. And the whole point of the game, of the story, is to hunt Waltz down, take Mia, and kill him. Aiden has said multiple times he wants Waltz dead. This is my theory. This is the point. Waltz doesn't want to destroy the city because it'll be some saving grace. Somehow a destroyed city is going to be what saves Mia. It isn't the rubble or the nuclear waste or anything like that that saves Mia. Waltz wants to destroy the city because he believes that the citizens will kill him. Aiden and Lawan and Hakon, in my playthrough at least, all managed to get to X13, which is the secret base that nobody knows about. X13 was a myth at that point. Yet Aiden, Lawan, and Hakon, all three of them, managed to get there. Managed to get to X13. Managed to get to where Mia was, to where the missiles were. And obviously, all three of them wanted Waltz dead. Which means basically anybody could find Waltz. Anybody could kill him if they tried hard enough. And everybody wants him dead. So he wants to blow up the city in order to kill everyone. Because by killing everyone who wants to kill him, he'll have no one trying to kill him, and he'll have all the time in the world to find a cure for Mia. So, I believe that's it. He doesn't blow up the city because, for some reason, the city blowing up is the reason Mia lives or something. That isn't it, because even with the city blowing up, I'm pretty sure Mia died in my ending. So I think that Waltz wants to destroy the city to kill everyone who wants to kill him. Because Aiden was strong enough to kill Waltz. It's also never explained why Waltz is a zombie, but I believe that he's a zombie because he experimented on himself as well. Because that's the thing too. If Waltz was a normal human being, Aiden would have killed him by now. Hell, Lawan would have killed him by now. Lawan managed to shoot him 4 times. Had he been a normal human being, he would be dead. Which means he stands no chance. So he probably experimented on himself as well to become stronger. Throughout this whole time, Waltz kills people without remorse. Why do you think that is? I don't mean to sound rude or an asshole, but I feel like the answer has been right in front of our faces this whole time, and I'm possibly the only one who sees it. When the peacekeepers, when Ader and his squad tried to apprehend Waltz, he killed them to get to the car factory and activate the electricity. When Aiden attacked him, he tried to kill him too. He let him live because he was an experiment. But otherwise, he would have killed him. Like, when Waltz finds out Aiden's one of his experiments, instead of killing him, he basically says, "Good, you'll get to see this." And then he tries to kill him anyway. He chokes him out, and Aiden almost dies. But then when Aiden says, "What have you done to my sister? Where's Mia?" Waltz lets him go. And he even hints at Waltz being a good guy, because Waltz let him go, and in this basically nice tone, like this tone that shows he's a kind person. He said, "Aiden, you're alive?" He said it in a caring tone. And so yeah, it's clear that there's a hidden meaning that no one saw. I believe that I am the one seeing it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about all this. But considering that everybody wants Walt's dead, and every time somebody has gone after Waltz, he has killed them, I just think that that's the answer. That Waltz wants to blow up the city so that there's nobody standing in his way. Because if Lawan and Aiden can get to him, what's stopping everybody else? What would happen if an entire group of Night Runners, if Killian, Hakon, and the rest had gone after him? He would have a hard time facing a group of Night Runners. And that's with his experimentation. The Peacekeepers, the Renegades, the Survivors, the Night Runners, all of them, they all want Waltz dead. And at the end of the game, by siding with the Colonel, you're basically having all the groups come together to stop Waltz. I know that Matt attacks you, but his men basically don't agree with him, thinking like, oh, they're Night Runners, they saved the city, they could take us down in one pulp. Which basically meant the Peacekeepers were on our side in a way as well. It was just Matt who wasn't. So you basically had all these factions coming together to stop Waltz. But if Waltz blows up the city, these factions no longer stand in his way. Because if all these factions came together to stop Waltz, he wouldn't win, even with his enhancements, I believe. So that is it. That is why I believe Waltz wanted to blow up the city. It wasn't because some toxic waste or ex machina or something would save Mia. He just wanted to kill everyone who wanted to kill him. Because obviously, if he's dead, he can no longer save Mia. He even says, right before he dies, that he failed Mia. Just proving that he didn't want to die by the hands of all these factions, so that he could save her and not fail. So that is why I believe he wanted to blow up the city. I believe that is the true meaning. Like I said, there's no proof of this. I could be wrong. I'm hoping the DLC, might explain some more things. But given that, when I chose to save Lawan and let the missiles blow up the city, most people died. Really, only the canteen was the one that still remained alive. There were also other survivors in the city, but not many. So, if Waltz had lived, it's most likely he would have had the chance to keep working on a cure for Mia, now that all these factions are no longer trying to kill him, because they're dead themselves. It's basically like nature's whole food chain. By taking out the competition and being the top dog, there's no losing for Waltz. That was the whole end game of Dying Light 2. All the factions came together to stop Waltz. The survivors, the peacekeepers in a way, the Colonel and some of the renegades left, and the Night Runners. By joining together, they all managed to beat Waltz. They managed to help Aiden get to Waltz. If it wasn't for those factions, Aiden most likely would have never gotten to Waltz. That's the whole point. That's Walt's whole plan. Blow up the city and work underground in secrecy. Like, think about it. Walt had a whole fallout shelter to prepare himself for years, basically, probably, to keep working on a cure for Mia. He had no intention of having all those supplies be for someone else. Just him and Mia. So that's what I think. What I think is that Waltz wanted to blow everybody up so that they wouldn't stand in his way. By having... Think about war. Remember after the attack of Pearl Harbor, with the whole Japanese war, America sent nukes to destroy the Japanese, forcing them to retreat? It's basically what Waltz is doing. Sending nukes, killing hundreds of innocents, and forcing all these factions to retreat. Basically winning this war in a way. Waltz chose the nuke ending, in a way. I'm sorry. But really though, Waltz did all this to kill his enemies. That is what I believe. Tell me what you believe. Am I wrong? Am I right? Have I awakened my sixth sense? Or am I just an idiot, babbling about nothing, with an idea that makes absolutely no sense? I just think the way he talks about how the citizens forced him to stop working on a cure. With those citizens out of the way, he can now continue to work on a cure. With the GRE gone, and the politicians gone, all that was left was the citizens of Villador stopping him. But by blowing them to pieces, they are no longer stopping him. I hope a lot of people see this video. I know I'm a very small channel, but I really think that this idea could work. And maybe in the DLC, they'll explain about it. Maybe they'll touch more on the ending. And like I said, as for Waltz being a zombie, I think he experimented on himself to make him stronger. He even took an inhibitor at the end of the game. He clearly would do anything to be stronger and defeat his enemies to cure Mia. It's right in front of our eyes, guys. I believe it's right in front of our eyes, at least. But I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thank you, and goodbye.